All right. Welcome back to the Board Drill Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. Not with us tonight is Matt. He is doing some wedding stuff. He's getting married here in a couple weeks, so I can't wait to show up to that wedding and mess it up. But in the meantime, we have a special guest, a guy that I've been trying to get on the podcast for maybe a year now, Coach Clayton Cason, who's the defensive coordinator at Mandarin High School. Coach, welcome to the Board Drill.
What's going on, man? Thank you so much for us finally getting this bad boy put together.
Absolutely. If you're listening, I talk with Coach all the time. We bounce ideas off of each other on Twitter, and I have basically begged him to come on. So I think finally I just caught him on a good week where he was like, fine, I'll come talk to you, you loser, and we're going to talk a little football tonight. So, Coach, tonight we're going to talk some D-line, right? Some defensive line.
Something that gets me fired up. Nothing gets me more fired up. I'm going to be talking a lot. I'm really appreciative of the honor of the ability to come on here. Just from the beginning of y'all's podcast, just having legends for me. To me, guys that are legends like Coach Sully, you've had Coach Sutherland on here. You know, you have a ton of guys I respect, Coach Mack, Coach Gower, Coach Avery, Coach Sparrow. You've just had a ton of guys on here that I've watched, and even more, we were talking to the pre about the guy from Father Ryan, how much
Coach
I love
Broderick, yeah,
phenomenal.
phenomenal.
How much I loved his podcast, and I've got so much from it. So that's the first thing. I'm just really excited to be even putting those names next to those guys. And secondly, to come and just talk some Mandarin football. D-line play, I'm going to go fast and bring a lot of energy most of the time. So if at any point you slow me down and prod my behind as I go and we go through the slides, you see any questions you have, ask them. Because if not, that means I want to make sure I'm getting those points. And I want to make sure that the best thing that people do is really prod into what you're doing to make sure you understand why you're doing something. You're not doing anything with no fat on it.
Yeah, I love it. Obviously, I'm a defensive guy. You know this. I've been a DC. I've coached defensive backs. I've coached linebackers. I've not coached D-line. So I have a lot of respect for it because my first hire was always a D-line coach because I'm like, look, I need a guy that's great at this because I'm probably just average. So I'm really excited to learn something tonight. So, Coach, go ahead and share your screen.
Absolutely.
While he's sharing his presentation, again, make sure to follow us. We're on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Board Drill. Follow us on YouTube, on TikTok. We've gotten a lot bigger. So if you're a coach, a high school guy on TikTok, which is I've seen a lot more lately, go follow us. And especially follow us on www.boarddrill.com. We write weekly articles and release our podcast on that as well. It's basically a Substack. It's really nice. It actually emails you our articles and our podcast. That way you don't have to go searching for it all the time. Coach, we having trouble sharing? All right, we're back with Coach Cason. We got the technology issues figured out. So here we go, a little Mustang D-line. Take it away, all Coach.
Right. So we're going to talk a ton of different stuff, but I really start with how you teach. I'm a teacher at heart. Most of the guys that are going to be on here listening to this podcast are teachers. Like that's what we do. And that's what made it so easy. Even when I started coaching at like 19 years old, getting into teaching was easy for me because I was already doing all this type of stuff. So I always start with the teaching progression. You know, I ask these, you can ask any of Coach Cason's kids. I ask my kids these three things almost every day, about 6 to 7 times a day, every single time they come off the field. You screwed up one of these three things. That's how it works. And I tell them all the time, this is our teaching progression. I make them write it in their notes when we come into meetings and all that. It's your alignment. Where are you lined up? It's really easy for D-line. Most of the time you're going to have your hand in the dirt and you're either inside shade, outside shade. We'll get to that. Your key. Where are your eyes? Your eyes are everything. We're going to get to that in a second. And what's your job assignment? And then I add in those two. That's our +2 when we talk about that is do your job. And then secondly, give them 6 seconds of hell. I say that a lot. 4 to 6 seconds of stealing really from Coach Meyer and those type of things. And give them 6 seconds of hell every single time the whistle goes. So I always start with that teaching progression, and that builds into the laws for us. There's only 4 things that get you cussed out by Coach Cason. That's really it. I'm dead serious. And they're right there for you. If you don't do one of these 4 things you see on this slide, and I'll go through them for my guys on the podcast that are driving in there. If you don't do one of these 4 things, you get cussed out. Anything else, I live with most of it unless your effort sucks. These are our laws. The hardest thing I've always found to teach with defensive linemen, with kids of any age, is to strike and separate. That's the first one.
Yep.
Everybody wants to jump around blocks. They want to look around, try to find the ball, and they end up getting shoved back, or they end up not getting near the ball, or they end up doing a reach tackle, which to me is not what I want. It's a last-ditch effort. And when I see those things happen, I know we're not doing what we're supposed to do. Football as a whole is a game of one-on-ones, collectively thrown together, right, as a team. That's really all it is. So the first thing you got to do is win your one-on-one. The only way to do that is to strike and separate. You can pull a kid up right now. We do anywhere between 5,500 to 6,500 strikes before we play our first game that counts on our record. That is a law for playing for me. I have to have those things for me. We do the difference makers. We go with the ball and we strike. Once we get into season, we get into spring, we hit the pad. We do all these type of things to strike and separate over and over again. And we'll get into what those look like in a minute. But that's the first law. We say knuckles out. And I always put this meme doesn't work as well as it used to about 7 years ago, but I have it written here. It says jet fuel can't melt steel beams. I want steel beams out of your arms to strike and separate from offensive linemen. I was a very average offensive lineman, but if you gave me the ability to play chest to chest with you, I was going to pull you in, and it wasn't going to matter what you did. You were going to be a guy that worked and lifted 200-300 pounds more than me amongst all your lifts, and you're still going to lose to me. So that's what I talk about all the time, is creating steel beams. That way you can't be melted. That's what we talk about 24/7 here all the time. The second rule is my hips are always in my fit. I don't use my hips when I'm not talking on the podcast. Hips in the fit, I'm in the fit. I say those words all the time. If your hips are in the fit, if your hips are in your gap, you're in that gap. That's fine. That's where you have got to be. You got to do your job, own your fit, stay where you're supposed to be. And a new term that we've come to, whether you're boxing or you're spilling or you're denting, regardless of where you are within the scheme, we talk about cratering pullers. What we mean by that is one person is on a train and one person's on the tracks. Are you on the train? Are you on the tracks? You can't get kicked out. Regardless, even if you're boxing and we get to it, we don't do it a ton, but we'll do it some depending on the call. Even if you're boxing, you cannot let yourself get kicked out. You've got to be the one whooping ass. You've got to be the one bringing it to them. You've got to be the one that's the train and they're the tracks. That gets you kicked off the field for me. You'll be over here with me. You'll be in coach's mode, as they say. That's the one that just drives me insane when people are not physical when they're taking on blockers, especially how much we work it. And we know it. We get them young kids, they don't get blocked. They fly up the field. They get sent to hell and back the first couple of times until we start telling them how to take on these blockers. And the fourth one is DYJ, do your job. Everybody's heard this one. It's a Bill Belichick deal. But the point of it is I'm not out there anymore. I have no more tackles left in me. I got no more pancakes. I got no more blocks. I got no more plays. The game is those 11 dudes out there, and mainly tonight talking about those 4 or 3 if you're 3 down. Those are your brothers. They're all you have out there, right? You can barely hear my voice sometimes we play in big games. And the games I want to play in, the games you want to play in, you are not going to hear my voice on the sideline. The only people you're going to hear is the guy. So do your job to the best of your ability. That's what the game's about. That's what I remember most about playing. That's what I want to bring to my kids the most about playing.
Yeah, I remember, Coach, the big games, I always lost my voice by the end of the first quarter. And I would yell at other coaches, too. I'd say, when I say it, you scream it, dang it.
My first playoff game, no lie, my first playoff game is the DC at Mandarin. We play Winter Park. And 2 plays in, my voice goes. You can ask all the kids about it. It's the funniest thing ever. Now, at the time, freaking out because I couldn't scream those certain things out. I couldn't at the time, I was a late in the call kind of guy. I would wait till the offense got lined up and I would make certain calls. And I would point things out and I would try to give as much information until the snap. I've grown and gotten better, and I'm not that dumb anymore to think that helps. But I was trying to do that, and second play of the game went out. Had to go to straight hand signals and prayers after that. We talked a ton after. I had the other coach calling for me on the side. Crazy experience.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the things you remember. You remember those moments. That's all this stuff, all these slides, all that. That's why we play the game. That's why you love to play this game of football. That's why it exists. So we go through those 4 laws. If you deal with those 4 laws, if you're not breaking those laws, you don't really come off the field for me unless it's a true rotation type of thing. Those are the things that I will not negotiate on. All right. So as we go in, we get kind of into our D-line play. I want to cover the 3 different things that we talk about and say to help understand and build clarity when it comes to teaching for our D-line before we get into the actual striking the eyes where they go. I want to clarify what they are doing and how they are different. All right. So there's 3 modes for us we talk about. The first one is knockback. All right. And it's what we just talked about. I got to strike and separate. When I just call a call and it's P and 10, it's 1st and 10, some people call it par down, it's pass or run. We don't know what it's going to get. My expectation for you is to knock that dude back. That's your job. Right. And we'll talk about when we get in the hands and stuff. I care more about you getting a knockback vertical and handling what happens after than you understanding or reading the block perfect. All right, so I talk about dominating the backside, not knocking back that key every single time. And then from there, you react. You just fight. Wherever the pressure goes, you go. All right, and we talked about my hips are in the fit, I'm in the fit. It's down to the bottom. So it's feet and hands to control, right? I want to control blockers. Everybody talks about getting off blockers. To start, you got to control a blocker to get off a blocker, to me. And we'll get there when we get there. But that's the first part. That's our first mode. Our second mode is completely opposite. I'm not a guy. There's always the going back. Are you a Pete Jenkins or you a Rob Marinelli? That's the two people talk about when they talk about hierarchies and styles of teaching for D-line. I believe you have to have a little bit of both, right? You have to have your major, right? And our major is going to be knockback, all right? Knocking dudes back, squeezing the life out of fits, out of gaps. But I call this is my playmaker mode. My stunt mode is my playmaker mode. I'm calling you for some specific reason, right? And now you're not a knockback guy. You're almost an avoid guy. Don't tell the kids that because they will run away. But you're almost an avoid guy. So if you're named inside a call for whatever that call may be to slant into a gap that's not where you're lining up, your first step is not straight at a guy. It's either at a 45 degree or it's lateral. And I've taught both, and we can go back and forth on which one I would rather use for certain kids. But I use both sometimes with the same D line. But the big key, the more important one is the third and the fourth bullet. Reduce the shoulder, grab grass, get your ass low, make yourself skinny. All right. And then once you've gotten to the heels of that guy, don't be running up the field unless it's a pass. Redirect, find the ball. Redirect, find the ball. You'll see you up here almost every single time. All these say, pursue the ball, pursue the ball, pursue the ball. That's why D-line coaches are the loudest screaming 24/7 because they need dudes playing with their hair on fire. That's just the facts of playing D-line. And then the final mode is GTA mode. It is get they ass mode. All right, go get them. All right, it's the pass rush mode. And they'll yell it. It's that time. It's that down. Maybe it's late in the game. Maybe it's something tells them. That's my favorite, coach. That once I learned that from Georgia, once we could identify on film when we should go GTA, that's my favorite. They'll be yelling GTA on 1st and 10, first play of the drive. And you'll see them lengthen out their stance to get into that track stance, maybe even tilt to get into that power stance because they're thinking of our first pass rush move because we've schemed all these things that we've talked about all week, how we're going to attack this right tackle. He's already put a pass rush move in his mind. It's flipping that switch. GTA, go get their ass. All right, get upfield. Now all that knockback, I don't like vertical seams in the run game. That doesn't matter because you have identified this is a go get them type of deal. All right.
Yeah, no doubt.
And this is that Rob Marinelli idea of stop the run on the way to the pass. When people say that, get upfield, get into your pass rush lane fit, and then if you feel the screen, we work it a ton. Every year of my career, I've had a D-line pick off a ball on a screen pass, and I'm trying to keep that up. If I fail at that, I'm going to ruin. I'm going to say it's the podcaster's fault because I've never mentioned that on a podcast. But every year, that's a big thing that we get a pick. D-line gets a pick somehow. So that's our three modes. I'm not really going to flutter with alignments. This is really for my kids to see. We use 6-eye. I don't care if you say 7. I don't really care. This is what gets important. All right. This is different. You've probably never seen a screen if you're watching it on a YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, it is a picture of a scope from Call of Duty. As soon as I show this to kids, they have seen this before. So I automatically have their attention. What we say is your key, where your eyes are, is like a scope. When you hold that LT button down to go strike the guy on that game, it shows you where you're striking. Yes, that's your crosshairs in the middle. But on the outside, you can see a ton of stuff and you can move that crosshair if you need to. That's really something I say a lot. Scan and then lock into what you're striking. See a little. That way you can see a lot. And this is where you start getting guys yelling GTA or knowing that a run's coming or knowing that counter's coming or know that, they're going to get a at block or a down block or what type of block. And that some of the things we talk about, and it's different every week, but I want them, this is going to be 201. This will be D-line 201, D-line 301. What's the demeanor of the offensive lineman? Is he got a V? Is there a flying V in the offensive line? Now we know it's a pass. What's the game situation? Are they up by 4 and they're trying to bleed the clock out and they're in that 4-minute offense? Is the back to me? Is the back away? We'll talk about that as we get further into it. Stuff I talk about a lot with our defensive line. What's the linebackers telling me? I can't see everything. I should be staring at this guy we see on here. Is the D-line telling me something? Is the linebackers telling the D-line something I should know? Right? What down is it? Is it 3rd and 10? Is it 1st and 10? Anybody outside of me that can hit me, and then the splits of the O-line. It's kind of a little bit of everything, and we don't ask them to see all of this at once until I've had them for 3 to 4 years, and I've broken this down. But we say this is their key scope. You're staring at your key, but you can see a little bit around you that can give you some cues to what you're going to get. And that's the biggest thing. If, you know, I've always found, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Kyle, you tell me if I'm wrong, coach. Somehow when it's inside run, we're really good at stopping the run. Somehow when it's 7-on-7 pass, we're locking stuff up, right? Am I wrong? That seems to be the thing.
No, right? When they can focus on one thing, it's pretty easy.
So why don't I spend a crap ton of time trying to figure out which one of those is about to happen? I just feel there's so much value in that, not just for defensive linemen, but for defensive players. Finding that value. Okay, he's doing something that's telling me, okay, now I know I'm going to get a down block with a pull. Now I know what to come. I'm yelling and telling it everybody. And you can see us on film saying those things. And that's what gets you as excited as a coach, as much as, you know, having the Billy Badass that we whoop people's behind and we've built these guys and they're strong and they're fast and they cause all these plays. When I see that, that's the stuff that gets me hyped up, makes me want to jump out of the bed, act like I'm possessed and have a great time playing and coaching this game. So we're going to get into it, talking about the key. The first thing I discuss with D-line is eyes, 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 eyes. I always show them by doing this. I stand in front of them and I turn myself to where I can't see them. I look away from them and I go and almost throw a punch at them. And then I look straight at him and I throw that same punch. Every single time, that punch, when I'm looking at that thing, is stronger. All right, where I put my eyes is where my power is. It's always going to be that. I can't look at one person and strike something else and think I'm going to strike that as hard as I can. It's impossible. Some of that power is not going to go. So where your eyes are is the most important thing. I spend forever on it. I ask them 24/7, hey, what's your K? You've got your A. What's your key now? You know your alignment. What's your key? What's your key? Where was your key at on that play? What'd your key do on that play? Come off the field. What'd you see? I don't ask them, did you make the tackle or did you not make the tackle? I ask them, what did you see? All right. So when we talk to our guys, our key, and I go back and forth between it depending on the kid. But the two main ones we use is that old school via the neck. All right. The via the neck. And that's for guys I feel have a good job of playing with their hands once they get a little older. When they first start, I have it up here on the PowerPoint that you can see. For my my drivers, you can't see it, but please don't look. You know, I put it on their eyes to the hip of the guy, and you'll see it. Your D lineman is always keying the near hip of whatever guy they're on, the shade of the hip of whatever they're on, that or the V in the neck. So I have two of them up here for the visual perspective. One's an outside shade 5 that's got his eyes staring at the key on the outside hip. And then you'll see my nose on the other picture is in a 0. He's about to actually slant, giving it away a little bit. You can kind of tell it in the practice film, but he should be head up, staring straight at his key, which when we go head up is the pits of them. And then, because that's both V and the necks. And then you have your two inside shades that are staring. Their eyes are putting a Medusa stone wall look through them. Once they have looked at their opening scope and said, okay, now I've locked in. Now let's pull my trigger. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to talk about when we do that. Before we get there, we got to get to our stance. We know where to look now. How do we get lined up so that we can knock a dude back? How do we get lined up? And we have a graphic up here with it. And I'm not the biggest stickler about this because there's certain guys, man, that can line up in ways that look unconventional and look uncomfortable. And you're like, you're about to get killed. And then the ball snaps and they're 3 feet in the backfield and they're tackling the running back. I have one right now. He's going to be an absolute stud. Just got his first couple offers as a sophomore, about to go into his junior year. His stance, I have tried to change 3 or 4 times until I said, we're not going to mess with that anymore because we can't even have practice because he's destroying every single play. So let's not do that. So, but a couple things. You generally want your tail higher than your helmet. Your eyes have to be on your key. We already talked. That is one of my non-negotiables. Hands off the hips, hands ready to attack. Right. My near hand that's in front of the foot, you've probably heard it before. I generally want that to be lined up. So if I'm staggering with my left foot back, I want my left hand down and I want my left hand directly vertically lined up with that foot. That's a big, because if not, they're going to swing their hips left and right and they're going to lose vertical power. So that's something I talk about a lot with. And your heels, if you can get in a stance like this that I'm showing you and your heels stay on the ground, you're flexible because naturally your heels should come off. That's not something you have to coach a whole lot. I coach heavy on where that hand is at and those type of things. And I make sure that their stance isn't compromising. There's guys that can get away with a little bit more stagger, and there's guys that get a little bit away with less stagger, and their hands are a little bit underneath them and their hands a little bit out. If you're not going to do back, I don't push you too hard on that. That's why I go back to my 4 laws. That gets us back to our strike. My kids probably have it in the middle of the night. They probably wake up and start punching things because I yell, force the flinch 24/7. I yell it all the time. Somebody's going to flinch. Stole it from Iowa. It's one of the greatest sayings I ever heard. Somebody's going to flinch. And it goes back. You can remember sitting in your car, listening to the podcast right now. If you're driving and you close your eyes, you remember the first time you had a ball, you had to turn around and run the Oklahoma drill, and you closed your eyes right before contact. You flinched. We want to be the guy that's forcing that flinch. That's the flinch we're talking about. We want to force that flinch. To do that, all right, we have to have some rules. We have to have some actual structural technique behind what we're doing on top of being incredibly powerful and explosive. We got to be hips, hands, then feet. And it's highlighted on here then, but I'm going to keep it a buck with you. It's pretty simultaneous. Your hips are coming as fast as your feet are stepping to the ground. A lot of guys go back and forth when we talk D-line. Do you take 2 steps then strike, or do you strike and take 2 steps? The fact is you watch everybody, it's almost simultaneously. All right. With us, it's going to be hips like a millisecond before those 2 feet hit the ground. Pop, pop, right. And we don't want to hop. We want to hear that noise pop, pop, when we hit. But when we strike, we want to keep our thumbs out, up. And what I tell them is knuckles out. Knuckles out seems to be one of the best cues I've ever given. You put those knuckles out, you turn your actual hip, your arm, your elbow turns, it seems to lock out. Your elbows have got to be locked out. And that's going to enact those lats in there too that we work out a ton, we use a ton, and you're adding as many muscles as possible going forward to knock back and win that one-on-one. We talk about having our thumbs above our eyes, so we're looking up at our hands. When we say that, we want to look up at our hands. And this is one that I think that people early when they're teaching striking and even in off season don't emphasize enough is stab and grab. Guys will pop as hard as they can with their palms open or strike it. And what happens is they lose the ability to control the offensive lineman. They strike hard as they can, and the offensive lineman gets knocked back. But the problem is now he can reestablish him trying to get his hands underneath and pull. Especially now, a lot of guys are following the older coach. His name's missing me on Twitter, and he's teaching these up underneath palm strikes. And I think it's great offensive line play, but they're pulling them in, and that's the deadly sin. We can't have that. To make plays and get rid of blocks, we got to control those blockers. To control those blockers, we got to grab a hold of them physically. All right, we have to physically do it. So the big things that I've found when your hips don't come out is their eyes are not up. So I tell them keep your eyes up on your target and your stance. All right, and we lock out. We come out with those hips first. We push those hips first. And some guys, I tell them you're squeezing a penny. Imagine there's a penny between your butt cheeks. I'm certain you've heard somebody use it. And squeeze the crap out of it as you go to stab. And that's going to get you what you want. That's going to bring to you the flinch. Force the freaking flinch 24/7.
Now, real quick, hold on. Was that a Jim McNally reference for the O-line coach on Twitter? Okay, there we go.
I know older coach, legendary coach. I hate not remembering names. To me, where you've been is not nearly as important as who you're with, who's around you. So like when people ask me, where have you coached? I say, well, I've coached for Colin Drafts. I've coached for Toby Bullock. I've coached for Robert Garth. Those are the guys that have influenced and put a lot of confidence in me, and probably too much confidence over time, and have let me grow and do these things. So that's why I don't say I've been, I've coached at Terry Parker or Wilson or Mandarin or Nice, and there's a couple other places. That's the words I use. So yeah, absolutely. It's Coach McNally, who's a phenomenal coach and has the record to say it.
Just don't ask him a question he's already answered on Twitter. Please don't do that.
I don't. I'm a DM guy anyway, so he would scream at me in the DMs and I'd be fine.
Some other people get a little sensitive about it, but it's all right.
Man, sensitive is not for football, brother. Those two things don't go together, unfortunately.
Agreed.
That's when people get that's when bad things happen, when sensitivity gets marked in. And that's different than vulnerability. Don't be people coming at me. There's vulnerability is okay. Sensitivity is a pain. Let me get back into D-line play. All right. So we start by teaching that strike with a hand placement drill. And I have a freshman right here. That's why I have him. I have this picture up here, this video. I wanted guys to see it. I want those Medusa eyes we talked about. I'm staring. I'm trying to turn his hip or his strike point that I'm hitting into stone before I strike it. All right. And we talk about where we want to strike when we actually strike. We've talked about having the knuckles out. We've talked about having our elbows locked. Now let's talk about where we truly want to strike. So in the graphic, you'll see in the top right, I have a shoulder pad where I want the hands to strike. This is visually how I see them. Like some guys, you could tell them, you can put their hands in the spot. They don't get it. But if you visually show it to them, it happens.
No, I love this, Coach. I've actually never seen anybody make a visual, so I like this.
All right. I love it. So I visually took that. I showed this to them a ton, especially early in it because of exactly what I just said. And a lot of people, you've heard the term attack half a man, attack half a man, attack half a man. Over time, as I've gone and I've learned, I don't say that as much anymore. I'm looking to get vertical knockback. What I found, especially when we start talking about the scoot, we'll talk about the one-arm scoot stuff for the C-gap players and the four eyes. That really is good stuff right now. Is when you attack the inside chest plate, you get a lot more of that person, right? You're going to get a lot more physical knockback. You're going to hit the center of them. You're going to stonewall them. You're going to force the flinch, right? And you're going to be in a great spot to have the ability to go one arm because one arm is longer than two. I'll say it later, but two hands is stronger than one hand, but one hand is longer than two hands. I say that a lot. And the first time I see it, I've got some 10th grade kid looking at me like, Coach, you've lost your daggone mind. And I'm like, then I show it to them and they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So
just hang in there, kid. Hang in there.
We strike more inside chest plate than outside on that breastplate. So to do this, we'll show the video when we're not in pads and we're trying to go through our winter stuff. Is I have the player, the scout guy, he'll grab his wrist and he'll put his knuckles, put his fist right on his heart, and he'll squeeze his bicep. And what that creates is the strike point where that pad's going to be, the shoulder pad, and the strike point for him to strike where his chest plate on his chest piece that you have the visual of the upper body piece to have on there for it, so they can physically strike it. And I'll show the video real quick before I start talking about two. Hopefully I don't have the volume off. Right, so I don't like the bottom half, but I'm really focusing on the top half heavily right here. See how many times this will replay for me. I'm really focusing on the top half. He's striking the inside. His elbows are locked, right? And we have a grip on that outside bicep. And trust me, I am not naive. They do not grab that bicep in the game. They grab that shoulder.
Yeah.
But if they go to get that bicep and they aim and they get it to where they've done it 5,500 times, that bicep strike's going to slide underneath that shoulder pad, and I got control of that guy. So that's why I teach the bicep instead of saying the shoulder. So you can see it over and over again. He strikes and boom, hands on. We want to bring that next foot with it as we start working, right? This is why this is my favorite video to show people, especially in textbook, like trying to teach tape crap up, is that this is real. This kid's a 9th grade baller. And this is like, he's been doing this for me for 5 months or so. And when he's at 3 years, it's going to look a ton better. And that's the stuff that excites me. To go into our true head up stuff, if we play true head up, so 6s and 0s is really all we play head up. We play a little 2s. So I don't want to give away too much scheme with spies everywhere. But we strike chest, pit to pit. Stole that straight from Florida. Ron Roberts' staff down there. Pit to pit. We say pit to pit. Strike him pit to pit. Knock his pits right back where they came from. But that's the words we use as we go. And I love, this is my favorite visual. If you follow me on Twitter, I post this. I send this to my kids all the time. This is how we drill the strike. This is the strike. First video is going to be me showing them the visuals. This is the most awesome video. It is a crocodile coming out of the sky. You can see his hips. He ain't even got hips. And you can see him lock out, knock back, and strike this daggum jaguar cheetah cat thing. Boom. I love that. Here's Simba striking inside hands, and then it's our kids. That's why I do. Kids don't realize, like, they barely watch football. They don't relate to Aaron Donald and Michael Williams showing it like I'm showing you in this video you can see right now if you're watching. They relate to lions and tigers and stuff striking people. Like that, they just do it. Like it makes sense to them, right? And that's a perfect rep if you're watching on video. That's beautiful. It's from the senior ball. I took it. And then I always add it with a little bit of us. That's that kid I was talking about. You can't have practice. I love watching this clip. I mean, he absolutely devastates this play. Playing 2-eye, knocks back the guard against a bad boy offensive line, like one of the best offensive lines in the state, and knocks back, destroys the play. But these are kind of the drills we work to get it. We bring the strike coming out of our hips out of a 2-point. I'm not even worried about the hands. I want to see strike. Then we bring it to a 3-point. We start talking about how to get rid of guys, right? Then we put a band on them. We have them strike, right, to build that type of suppression, that type of knockback, just like a sprint. And then you put it all together. We talk about the strike over and over again with the bands, over and over again, strike, 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 over and over and over. And this I do. I am not afraid to do this 60% of the time at my ending. I'm not afraid. I will do this in a block rec for the entire day. And I promise you that's what we're going to do the first day coming out April 28th or whatever it may be.
And Coach, this is, I mean, some of your off-season stuff when we've talked about this.
Yeah.
I'm going to brag on you a little bit. It's as good as it gets. The way, just those clips of me watching that, Coach, I wish as a DC, I could have seen my D-line doing that stuff in the offseason, or just seeing them being as violent as your kids looked in that video and unpadded drills. I mean, like, look, I give you credit. They look violent. And they're like you said, they're punching, they're striking, they're moving their feet. Man, that would get me excited every day too, man. I'd be pumped because we can do a lot of stuff on the back end if our D-line plays like that, right?
That's the key, baby. That's the key. The more you can start playing some too high stuff because you trust what's going on up front, you can get funky. You can get real funky, and my kids love that. They want more defense. It sounds crazy. They want more defense. They're like, Coach, we'll be installing on the week 3, because they've got the basics down, and I'll start a board with freaking strike drills over there again. But absolutely. And also, if you're watching the videos, you can see it. I'm padded up in the middle of summer, or I'm padded up when in a training drill or something like that. They're striking me because they're getting to strike me. So they're striking me as hard as they can because I talk major sugar honey iced tea 24/7 to them. So when they get that opportunity, they take off. Here's visually what it looks like with the hips. I think this is one of the best things. Coach Vass, who's obviously well known on Twitter and those type of he mentioned, I think it was Rob Ryan. I don't want to get the brothers mixed up, but he called it the cheesesteak technique. And basically, how does a man that's, how does a businessman in New York want to eat a cheesesteak on his break? He doesn't want to get anything on his food, on his awesome suit. So he's going to eat it out in front of him. So he wants space in between him and the food. So if it drops, right, he doesn't get any on his stuff, on his outfit. That's what we want. We want space. We want this separation between our knockback and the offensive lineman, right? And this is a kid with all the potential in the world. He's at Edward Water right now, going into his second year. Going to build into being a great. And then we start talking about separation. So I'll go quick through what the videos we do. We grab that bag. Those little pop-ups have those 2 handles on them. I'd like this one to be lower. We have a green pair that's a lot lower that I like to strike better. But this is trying to get that strike, getting that separation. We're going for a lockout. And then when we talk about separating, we say shrug. We say shrug a lot. We want to shrug guys off. And when we strike and we get separation, we want these guys to go down and away with the guy they're trying to get rid of. You can't separate until you have them locked out to the right here on the visuals. You have your elbows locked out, your knuckles are out, your hands are above your eyes. You have this guy. You have control of this blocker. And then from there, you want to snap him down hard and violent away from your body. The worst thing that young kids do is snap to their body, and then they end up getting blocked. What you got for me?
That was going to be my question, Coach. What do you mean by down and away? It's perfect. Exactly. Perfect explanation of it.
I want it to go snapping hard down and away from wherever my gap is. Or if I have my gap and I'm trying to play a half of another gap, because to me, average defensive linemen can play their gap. Great defensive linemen can play their gap and the gap next to them. That's what I tell them.
Primary to secondary. Yeah.
And that fires up a young kid because they're like, oh, I want to be great. I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that can do those things. And that's what I hold. That's a standard. I'm like, that's the standard you're held to. I don't care. An average kid can hold up his gap. Can you knock back your dude, control your gap, and then separate that blocker from yourself and end up in the other gap, make the play? And the big KPI we use, key like performance indicator, is on the second video, is when we go to separate, we want that pop-up dummy to hit the ground every single time. This one's really good. This is going to be a really good junior for us right here.
Yeah, Coach, I love it. If you're watching, you can see it. If you're not watching, the popsicle sled when you take the pad off is one of the best things in the world for linebackers, but also for D linemen. When you talk about striking and shedding, this is the best drill, because just like Coach said, you got to keep your hands inside, your thumbs have to be up, all that good stuff that he's teaching. You can see on here that they have to naturally do.
And you got to bring your hips. And when you do it, it gives you feedback that you did it right. That's my favorite thing about it. I would love to have a Jenkins sled. I ask my head coach for it every year. Maybe he'll hear this and give it for me, because I love the way that sled works. This is the best thing.
I'll tell you what, we'll leverage the Board Drill Twitter to get onto Toby's butt. He needs to get you one of those sleds, all right?
Ask him every year. He gives me a lot, man. He gives me a lot, and I give him a lot of crap. So that's why we drill our separation. This is a quick video that I stole early in my deal when I needed to show guys. I probably won't spend too much time on it. Same exact drill, but you're locked out and you're going to separate. Same exact drill. You're just trying to separate. You'll see, the legend, Coach Aranda back there, working D-line when he was at Hawaii. And he's got all these Samoans. He probably
silently whispering, "All right, guys, you got to do this."
He's
all right.
Man, dude. I could never be.
He's incredible. He's incredible. But his ability to just be the most even keel human being on earth, I sometimes I'm like, is he breathing? What's going on?
I don't know how he does it, man. He's
awesome.
He is awesome, and he's so different than most coaches that I think it takes kids back and they listen. I wasn't a kid, but my granddad was a Jake the Snake fan. He was a kid, and Jake the Snake used to whisper just like Aranda did, and it would draw you in. As a young kid, used to scare the crap out of me. Here's a ton of great just examples. We're looking at this 3-tech right here. He's in the B gap. His hands are on. You're going to see full knockback. He takes back control, and he's going to play a gap and a half with a separation. Strike, boom, get rid of him. I know you strike, and you won when I see an offensive lineman's shoulder pads fly backwards. That is the ultimate feedback for me. If I see that and you see him knock back, I know I won. Right. And we talk about playing a gap and a half. And we got our nose and our 3-tech, and they decided to run a little slice action right here. I brought the guy off the edge. They bring a little slice action right here. We get the 2-on-1. One guy's going to come free, still in a gap, old school style. Here's another one.
Yeah, when they're stealing tackles from linebackers, they're doing a good job.
Yep. So right here, we're watching this topside defensive end playing out of position. We got hurt at defensive end, so I had to play my nose tackle there, knocking back. When you see guys of the opposite color get knocked back to a yard behind their original heels, we're doing our thing up front. That's what I'm looking for. That's the expectation. That is, I'm not going to come off of that. It's okay if you get reached. I really am okay with you getting reached most of the time, because I know if you knock it back, you're going to bubble that ball out.
Yeah.
And guys are going to get there. That's where our pursuit comes in. That's where our give a crap comes in. How much do we care to get to every single ball? Look at the right here as I pause it, the separation. 70 is not blocking my guy anymore. He's just not. He's got full separation, and now you can get off. I'd like to be a little bit better on the get off part, but he runs it down. He's playing out of position, and he just grabs a hold of the kid because he's big and strong. Here's us, and then you can't tell me don't work on everybody. I got a 5'8" nose tackle right here going against a kid going to Alabama. He's a stud from IMG. They all are. He gets knocked back. I don't have a end zone cam of this one, but you see the knockback from the nose tackle. Boom, knockback. He has him controlled. He can rip off. He knocks the ball out, causes a fumble. We get the ball on the 25-yard line, against the most talented team that, high schools can put together. Love playing those guys. Those are some of my favorite ones. A couple of I always show my college guys stuff, and it's really easy to tell them because all the talent's relative. Some coaches are like, don't show them some 2-eye from Alabama doing. I'm like, well, he's going against a guard from Florida. Like, I don't know what the issue is, and you can see both these guys knocking back. You see 77 get knocked back. You see 74 get knocked back. They're winning their one-on-ones, and these two guys are playing nearly 4 gaps. When you can get that is to me the semantic of stealing gaps.
Correct.
Like, that to me is stealing gaps. That's how you steal gaps. Anything you can do. We kind of go into it once we talk about the strike. The strike takes the longest for everything we'll do. I just spend so much time on it. And then next comes how we move. So movement's imperative. If your feet are touching each other, you got no power. If your feet are, way outside your body, you got no power. So we can't lock our hips and then not move, right? We knock back a guy. From then, it's all about pursuing and how we move. So we talk about reaching and gathering, and all reaching and gathering straight out of the Pete Jenkins books. It's worked for me for 10 years now. Is I take a 3-inch step with my lead foot. So right now, my right foot, if you're trying to imagine, I've got a hold of a guy, I've got him knocked back, and he's trying to reach block me. All right, so I'm taking my right foot 3 inches, I'm bringing my left foot to match it. I'm bringing my right foot 3 inches, I'm bringing my left foot to match it. I'm bringing my right foot up 3 inches, and I'm literally taking these little reach and gather steps to where I'm not getting overextended or I'm losing my base. And this is really important on reach blocks for the most part, but it's also going to help you squeeze the air out of down blocks and certain blocks like that. So this is a quick drill we do with it. This is early in the year. Boom, boom, boom. You get the turn. But if you'll watch, he does a really good job. The first guy, really athletic, big. He's gaining 4 to 5 inches. I don't even count. I just don't want to be outside their body. The biggest thing you can know that you're doing it right is if they don't land on their heels. He's landing on his heels a little bit there. The first one, I don't love that. We want him to land on his toes. So he lands on his toes, he's good. As long as he don't land on his heels, we know he's reaching and gathering. We go back and forth just to show it. This is how we want to move when we got blocks. All right, this is how we want to move when we got blocks. This leads us in to what I think is imperative if you want to be a 3-down team or you want to be an elite 4-down team. Your C-gap players and your 4-eyes have got to learn how to power scoop. And it's my favorite. Now that I've learned how to do it and I've really got down and had a couple years teaching it really well, man, it's a game changer because you're going to get certain kids that have these gargantuan long arms because they always put some 6'3" gangly kid at DN when he's a freshman. He doesn't know anything about football. All he is he's physical and he's long. And you use that ability, that long behind 80-inch wingspan, and teach him this on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. In a year, he can play high school, high level 6A, 7A in your state, whatever it is, top of the level football at level, even when he isn't strong enough to. All right, so we talk about it. The power scoot is our second progression of how we strike. We spend a lot of time on this. Is to create separation. That's the first thing. All right. We're talking about everything we need to do. We have to control the blocker before we get rid of the blocker. So it creates separation. If you'll notice on the video, my defensive lineman is square, meaning his hips are in the fit. His hips are looking forward. And the offensive lineman, the scout right here, is sideways. Square is strong, baby. Square is strong. Tell kids all the time, square is strong. The other part is unlike the last one where when you have young kids, they're trying to look around blocks, they're trying to dodge blocks. If you will power scoop effectively, you have great vision. You can see everything because the guy has been turned sideways. You can see the ball. You can see in front of you. You can see to next to you. And the other part I love about it is it allows you to play 2 gaps. If I'm a C-gap football player and I knock back that guy, I get into my one-arm scoop and I start reaching and gathering, 1 foot reach, next foot gather, and start pushing that offensive lineman into the guard, that tackle into the guard. There's no B gap. It doesn't exist. So he can't run out there. He has to physically either run to me or get the heck out of dodge. And nothing is new about it. That's my favorite part about this type of drill. It's why I don't teach it first. It's the second one. Is our knuckles are still out. We're locking our elbows out. We're doing the reach and gather. We're working, as you can watch the kid that's on here. You got a freshman kid right here. 1, 2, 1, 2. Reach a little bit longer on that one. I'd like to. And you just fight pressure wherever he's pressured. 1, 2, 1, 2. And you'll see right here. I cut it through. Actually, right here with it. Boom. You knock back. You get it. This is an older kid working it. You can see me being the scout as the offensive lineman, right? He has both gaps. He can play both gaps now. And when I have to go, oh, crap, there's nowhere to go. I got to bounce. I finish in the tackle and we get into it and run our feet. I make them, and this is just a little tidbit, the first 2 weeks, once we put helmets and stuff on, I don't let, in drills, defensive linemen use their hands to tackle. It sounds crazy. I make them put their foot in between crotches and run their feet over and over again because I have been burned and burned and burned with defensive linemen that win their offensive line battle immediately and then go to reach instead of run their feet. They go to reach out and try to tackle a guy. Brother, he is a running back for a reason. He is not a tackle back. He is a running back. He is going to keep running. He is the best athlete on the team for a reason, right? They ain't going to give the ball to a crappy athlete. They're giving it to the kid that ain't going down on the first tackle. So if you're reaching and trying to tackle him, it ain't going to work against a good one. This is a great example. It's one of my favorite examples. He's playing 9-tech, knocks back. You get the knockback we talk about. He's nearly pit to pit, I would argue, but he has that inside hand placement, and then he gets it. And you can see it right here. He has the D gap. You ain't running the D gap. You also, because he's long arming, going with that power scoop, locked out elbow, reaching and gathering, striking, he ain't going into that C gap either. He played 3 gaps at one time. Like, he's playing inside of 59, outside of 59, and outside of 87. Like, you didn't even need a linebacker or a safety on this play. The play is still getting tackled. Right?
Yeah, I mean, just another way of saying what you're saying is guys' ability to displace offensive linemen and blockers it's uncanny, like you said, because once you compress that gap, it doesn't exist. At some point it becomes too skinny for anyone to run through, no matter how small that D lineman is. And it's exactly what you're talking about. You can use that power scoot and compress it into nothing. Like you said, you've closed 2 gaps, and now you're at an advantage automatic.
And you could do it from a 4-eye too. If I was
correct,
if I was a if I was a mint tight front guy 24/7, and I have been before some years, that's all my 4-eyes would do, because they're going to get a down block, the base block, what we call an at block, 80% of the time anyway, because they're 4-eye. That you're demanding the tackle strike you. I know that's coming. I can get really good at that power scoot, and I can play the B gap and then cross over into my C gap stuff quick. And if you get those kids good at that, you're tough to run on regardless of surface. So a lot of things that people talk about is the block rec. And that once I'm done with the strike and how to move and those type of things, I get into block rec. And for me, I'll go fast through this till we get through. There's only 3 types of blocks. The reason I say that is I want my guys playing fast. I don't want to hear scoop block, reach block, cut off, reverse dick, as Pete Jenkins has talked about before, learning him. Yeah, that's a whole nother, I'm not going down that rabbit. All these different type of blocks, pass block, pull, he's either blocking at me, and that goes back to what we've been spending the last 40 minutes on. Knock his behind back, use your feet, use your hips, squeeze the gap next to you. That's all you got to do. And then find the ball. Don't complicate it. All right. The second block is if he's not at you, he's away from you. He decides to not block you. The cardinal sin of playing defense for Coach Cason is letting a ball hit vertical straight down the line without making it move left or right. If it hits the A gap and takes off, I'm not going to have a call sheet. All right. It's going to disappear. You get ripped up, and I'm going to go crazy, and a little bit less now, but especially early in my career. Anytime we get a down block, I'm squeezing the life out of that block, or what people call a down block. We call it an away block. I'm squeezing the life down out of that block. I'm putting hands on. If I'm treating every block like an at block, I'm going to be fine, because if I go at him and bring my hips and my feet in knockback mode, and he decides to not block me, he decides to step down, guess where I'm at? I've now squeezed all the life out of that block. I'm going to scream down a line of scrimmage, and I'm going to crater any blockers I see, whether I'm a spill player or a box player or a dent player, regardless of what you teach. And I like all 3 of them for various reasons. But
now,
I'm
real quick.
Go.
Scream down the line of scrimmage. What do my shoulders look like here?
Depends on what you want. So for us, day one, and we're going to do it a couple different ways. So any spies thinking that's who we're going to be, it's not who we're going to be 24/7. We build checks. I mean, y'all do get a pin, and y'all have players and stuff like that. Like y'all have
I know.
But day one, I'm turning my shoulders down the line, and like a bat out of hell, I'm getting ready for something coming back, whether it's a spill or the ball.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's how I taught it. I'm always curious, right? We always use different terminology, and I would say the same thing. I'm like, you turn and you run your butt right down that line of scrimmage looking to murder the next thing you see.
Destroy, kill, murder, destroy. Because if you see it, like you can see on this for those that have visuals, I'm in the gap now inside of him if I get
Correct.
to this red dot, which means my backer is going to make me
gap
right.
exchange now.
If your behind was a linebacker, was athletic to do it, I would make you a linebacker. That's why they're back there. They're incredibly athletic. So they'll make you right. All right. They'll make you right. That's why you're the one that knocks back and causes problem and causes havoc. So scream down the line. And then finally, and this is really for pass downs when we don't know it's GTA. If I go to knockback and he starts to retreat, I know it's a pass. Get vertical, have some plan. Don't go in there without a pass rush plan. And this isn't really a pass clinic or whatever, but have a plan. Big deal for me is defeating double teams. A lot of people ask me about how do you take on double teams. It depends on the kid. Kids can do it different ways, I think. But as an interior defensive lineman, it's a must. I mean, there's no way to get about it. Like the chances of you getting a ton of one-on-ones and we play nothing but zone and we only get zone offensive types, it doesn't happen much, especially in Florida, especially in North Florida. A lot of teams are gap scheme. So it's one of the most important jobs for a defensive lineman. You know, the mantra is one man can't block me. So we've talked about that for the past however long. Two men cannot move me. Two men cannot move me. The first key, and I always tell them, I ask my defensive linemen, I get their attention every time. I look them square in the eyes. I say, have you ever been jumped? And they look at me and they go, what are you talking about, coach? I'm like, have you ever been jumped? And when they don't, I tell them my personal story getting jumped. But if they have, I tell them, when you got jumped, did you try to punch both guys at the same time? He said, no, coach, why would I do that? I was like, exactly. You look at one of them, you hit him as hard as you can, and you back up because you're getting jumped. Let's knock out one of them. Same principle here. The key is to take my key and take his behind back, get them on different levels, knock him back so hard that the double team is separated. That way I'm here, if you can see visually, I'm back here in this red, whereas I'm back here where I started. I have reset the line of scrimmage, as people, as cliche is if I do that, half your double team problems are gone. Double teams start working in the third quarter when you get tired and you're not firing off the ball as hard. And I have to put somebody else in there and pray to God I have a rotational guy. That's when I watch it. That's when it happened for us, watching it in my history, in my past. It's never typically in the first quarter unless we are way outmatched. You've got to fire off. And then once you feel it, you shove your hips into it. There's a couple different ways to do it. When I have taller, longer, stronger kids, I love to tell them to go one arm, just like we do with the power scoot. It's like a reverse power scoot. So visualize, I'm a defensive lineman. I got two offensive linemen in front of me. I'm striking the right offensive lineman. I go two hands on him, and I've got a great knockback, and I feel the left offensive lineman start to hit my hip or my ribs, or those dirty dudes do all kind of stuff, right? I'm going to take my outside hand and I'm going to turn my shoulders and fire them back so that I have one long steel beam on the outside shoulder of that right offensive lineman. And then I'm going to take my knee and I'm going to drop it. It can hit the ground. It cannot hit the ground. People are always like, well, do you let them go to the knee? I'm like, not really, but if their knee hits the ground and they don't get moved, you live with it.
Yeah.
You hold that point. They cannot stay. I emphasize this, and this is the biggest thing you got to build. This is why it's DYJ. This is why it's do your job. It's why you trust the 11 other people. They cannot stay on that double for the rest of the time and score. Promise you they can't. They're not going to get 3 yards. They're going to get strummed for a 2-yard loss because if my linebacker's not humming down that spot and filling that spot outside of him, he's getting fired.
Correct.
That's facts. He is downhill, inside out, and everything. So he better be seeing it fast, and it's only going to be a split second that left offensive lineman in the example is on me. As soon as I feel, and I've created the separation because I've got one long arm, as soon as I feel that pressure leave, just like I do when I do my separation, down and away with that long arm, and then arm over and get back square, find the ball. That's how I teach it. That's how I try to make it as simple and as violent as possible. And we rep this a lot. We split our inside guys and our outside guys up, and because I have phenomenal edge coach that I trust in the game of football more than anything. Mike Montmeyer is a phenomenal guy and phenomenal coach, and I trust him to work the edge, so I go work doubles because it's fun. This has some audio, actually. But here's a great drill for it. They're working the slide. He knocks back the first guy. That's the key I always show these guys is he is not knocking back the first guy. Boom, hands on, and then you'll see his hips go into it. All right, and I'd like to see him long arm a little long. It's hard to get great visual of this as a high school coach. I don't know if y'all know this, but the film I work with is not the film that other guys, at the next level work with. So
Coach, where's this fancy place you're at right there?
That's not me. That's stolen straight from.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
That might honestly be like 8 years old. That kid might be an accountant at Allstate right now. If I'm being real with you, this is it. Bama, obviously. Hands on, they're playing a 3-on-2. See the knockback? That's what we talk about. Coming out of my hips. I know he's playing a head up, but I don't care. Boom, I feel it. I put my hip into the ground. I screw it into that ground, and then I rotate over, and I find the ball. This is a violent sport. Play with people that are not right in the head. strike it, and go find the ball. At some point, it comes down to that. All right. Nothing. This is my favorite part, and this is why I think we have become so good as a multiple front. And people are like, you got to be multiple. You got to be multiple. This is why I think we're good at it. I teach my base mode, my knockback mode, inside and outside shades exactly the same. I do it exactly the same. And I usually start with the inside shades because it's technically, and I'm air quoting for those in the car, harder. Because supposedly it's harder. I teach it exactly the same. If I'm a 4-eye, I'm staring at the inside hip of that tackle and I'm knocking him back. If I'm a 5, I'm staring at the outside hip of that tackle and I'm knocking him back. I'm not worried about anything else. And if you'll do that, if you'll understand that, you can play every type of front you want. A heads, a double 3, double 2-eyes, a tight front, mid front, head, true base, 0-4s, all that crap. You can play all of it. People are like, how are you getting all this in? Well, I don't teach things differently. I'm not telling them we're in 7-man, 8-man space and we're a 3-4 now. They don't need to know any of that. Don't tell them. Like, why are you wasting your time telling them that they're a 3-4 defensive end now? Nah, man. You're a 4. You're inside now. Beat him. Put hands on. Because no matter what, if I strike that offensive lineman as a defensive lineman as a 4-eye, I strike him as hard as I can, and he strikes me, it's an at block. I don't worry about nothing else. If I strike him as hard as I can and he blocks me and nobody else comes to double me, I got the B gap. So let's go into our power scoop and let's just squeeze the life out of the B gap. There's nowhere to run in the B gap. It's all I care about. Find the ball. Don't worry about anything else. And the cool part about an inside shade, I tell them when I play the front, we call it, I literally just tell them, I'm like, go watch 12 clips of us in this front. You're a 4-eye. How many times did you get an at block? Like 10 times, coach. The other 2 were passes. Life's pretty easy when you know what's coming, isn't it? You shouldn't be losing, right? Like, if you lose, it's because you didn't put the work in for 8 months in the offseason. That's why I tell them, like, this shows up. At some point, you got to do the work here. So here's a 4-eye. It starts a little bit going. I'm going to run through it. We're looking at this right guy right here. You can see his hat placement. You can see his knockback, his shoulders. He's playing a 4-eye. This is an at block. He's pressing it out. He's working to that one arm. You see his other arm go. And because the quarterback, this quarterback is the best scout team quarterback in the history of scout team quarterbacks. He scored 30 touchdowns as a senior. And we got a ton of zone read, so we did it. So you see him physically not have the ball. You have the B gap. He has the B gap. You can't run the B gap right now, right? Now you can go arm over and add on to the ball. And now I have 3 people tackling the best guy on the field instead of 1, because that's my biggest fear, is having one-on-ones with it. I want as many 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s, shared pain as much as possible. Make him feel it. That's my way of thinking. And a cool part, we get into our away blocks. There's only 3 types of blocks, coach. If I get an away block and I'm an inside shade, I do the same exact thing. It just takes a little longer because I don't notice it as fast. And guess what? Coach Cason lives with it. It is what it is. All right. He's most likely got to bounce the ball anyway. I have 3 guys standing inside the C gaps. There's not much he can go. And the next part, you go to the next one. It's even cooler. If it's a pass, it's the same thing. Right. And I don't want to bog us down with how we teach our cop from a 4-eye. We've gone all over all of our base stuff. Stunting is exactly the same way. All that's important is the start. Instead of knockback, our first idea is we're a playmaker. Put my mental weight on the opposite foot that I'm slanting. That's something I stole from my head coach as a offensive lineman. When I was pulling right, I would put all my weight on my left foot so I could push off hard as possible. So I would get out there as fast as possible. So do the same thing here. If I'm slanting to my right, no matter if I have my right or my left hand down, put all that mental weight, just a little bit of weight, to that left foot, and I push off of it as hard as I can. Some people teach diagonal. Some people teach lateral. I've gone between both, depending on what type of defense you are. The key of this is to dip your shoulder and end up where his heels are. That's the key. That's it. Complexify this game. Like, that first piece of contact happens in less than half a second. You telling him he's got to drop, take a 45-degree angle, grab grass, slant forward, do that. It's not going to happen, right? Your job is to get into that gap, get skinny, and get past him. Get your hips past him. That's it. Just get to his heels. And once you do that, you've already done 3/4 of the play. All you got to do is find the ball. And that's want to. That's give a crap. That's care. That's wanting a ring. That's wanting to be a champion. That's where I tell them all the time. Right. That should be, if you decide not to run to a ball, people pursuit drill, all that. If you decide not to run to the ball, you don't like the other people on the field. That's the only way I can tell you. You're a traitor. I don't know. And I put them in here, but it's the same stuff. If I slant and I'm slanting from the C gap to the B gap and the guard comes to block me, knock his ass back. Sorry for the language. Knock him back and play football. You're in the gap. Play football. It's nothing new. I don't need to teach you a whole new style of football. We're not inventing football on the way there because I want to slant. If he steps away, if I slant across, and there's one in here, if like say I'm in the C gap and the tackle steps really hard and fast and beats me to the B gap, go behind him.
Yeah, that's a big one there, Coach.
So people stuff their head in there, and I'm like, all right, where's the B gap? And I'll step in front of them right here. If I can draw a little bit, I'll step in front of them right here. Oh, I shouldn't have drawn.
Yeah.
I went off my breath. All right. And I'll step in the B gap on his side, and I'll say, this is the B gap, right? And then I'll walk around the offensive lineman and go behind it and step in the same B gap and say, you're in the B gap, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, then what are we tripping on? Like, go get there. Don't,
Coach, this is a good teaching point because I used to tell my guys all the time, don't block yourself on the slant there, because we had that issue one year and we got Reigns popped a big one on us because our best player, the kid, he was 4-star DN that was going to Miami, decides when he's slanting one time just to block himself and get caught in the wash. And I said, well, why'd you do that? He said, well, Coach, I'm supposed to slant to the B gap. I said, yeah, but if he's going down, just come off his butt, close it from the backside. And he looks at me. By the way, this kid's smart. He's like a 4.0 student. He looks at me and he goes, oh, yeah. So even when they're smart, sometimes they're stupid. And I mean that in a loving way as a coach, but, your players don't see the game the way you do.
Absolutely. And I can't expect them to. Absolutely. It's just, do you like making plays?
Correct.
That's what I would look at and be like, do you like making plays? Do you like when mom gets to hear your name on the intercom? Like, what are you doing? Don't go about this, don't beat your head into the wall. And it's the same thing for pass. I slant inside, they're dropping back on a pass, move to my move, get into my pass rush move, just have something. This is a quick one that I do a ton with my kids, and this is that 201, 301 stuff. It is back placement. Once we've covered how to slant, how to move, how to pass rush, we get into back placement. That stuff is so key. And offenses are so much better at this than they used to be. I want to preface this, and I don't want to challenge or patronize some of the best some of the best coaches I've been around are offensive coaches. I don't want to patronize them and be like, well, we'll just move the back. And I'm like, yeah, obviously. But generally speaking, right, if I understand back placement, I can eliminate a lot of blocks. If it's 10 personnel and the back is to me and he's offset and it's just 10 personnel and I'm the defensive end or I'm the 3-tech, I know where the ball is going. It can only really go one way, right? He can pull it, and that depends on how you schematically defend that 7th dimension that people talk about, how you defend that and crap. We don't to start, but we will as it goes. If I'm the 5-tech, I know the tackle's stepping down. If he's not stepping down, then I react late, and it's a stretch play or some sort of quarterback deal. There's only like 3 things we can do here, right? If the back is opposite of me in the same exact deal, I'm a 5-tech, and there's no tight ends, and the back is offset, and we've done the film study, I should expect a block at. And if I know what I'm getting, it goes back to my inside run theme. If I know it's inside run and they ain't throwing no passes, I better not get beaten inside run. It makes it a lot easier. That's why offensive coaches have eliminated inside run. It's a stupid drill if you can't throw RPOs. Making life too easy. I don't get this. But if I can steal that and make that on a Friday night, I'm going to have your butt, right? But this is more important to me, is the tight end placement. We get this a lot, man. This is an Aranda thing that I stole probably 4 or 5 years when I first started as a Mandarin DC. And where's the tight end at? Is he really tight? We say tight. If he's tight, if he is in a position where he is almost sniffing the butt of the tackle, right? Or his legs or his foot is in between the foot or the crotch of the tackle, he's tight. If the back is to me and he's tight, that's power, buddy. That's all you're going to get. Just about. I mean, you may get something, but if the back or both of them are tight, if I'm getting a stacked look and the tight end is tight, I need to get ready to spill right now. And I need to get my butt. I have it out here, weigh this defensive lineman. If my defensive lineman lined up like that in a real game, I'd scream at him. I want him about right here, shaded. He can even get into nearly a 4 because I want him to knock back this tackle so hard that it's not a spill anymore. It's a dang near a double team. The tight end trying to help, and he's going to knock it back. And now we're going to get some sort of pull that's never going to get there, and we're going to end up strumming the running back for a 2-yard loss. And I don't go and screaming hee ha ha with the linebacker that made a 2-yard loss. No, I am doing backflips for my defensive end. We give our kids +2 stickers, which is our Ohio State sticker thing. You do if they get a spill on a TFL, and we'll talk about that in a minute. If they get a spill, because that junk's violent, nobody sees it. Your name's not highlighted, but I'm gonna highlight you. It's just like if you tip a ball at D-line and we get a pick, I don't go running at the field safety who just scored a pick 6. I am hitting. We're going up. Me and you are going as high as we can and bumping chest at D-line. That's who I'm hyped up with, because that you made the play. Like you're the Luka Doncic. Like you made the assist for the alley-oop for the big play, and I think that is once you instill that. Oh man, kids love that kind of stuff. But going back to it, if I'm tight lineman, right? Oh, but tight end's tight to him. He's not, doesn't look like he can go across the line of scrimmage. And the back is to me, I kind of know what I'm getting again, right? If I'm a 3 tech, right, I know I'm getting an away block that I've got to squeeze down, right? If I'm the D lineman, I know that he's either got to block at me or down. He's not probably going to come across the line of scrimmage, because if my D line's doing their job, they're knocking him back and he's having to bubble that pool. It's just not going to happen a whole lot. That's the whole idea behind that. And I don't see that much tight and back split. But it looks here. When you get loose, now you can see, if you visually can see it, the tight end's much deeper. And we get this a lot. You get this a lot. And I don't want to talk too much. I don't want to give away too many secrets. You get this a lot from a lot of teams that happen to be on our schedule anyway. They loosen up the tight end. The tight end's loose and the back is to me. I know that I'm getting something going away from me. I have to be, right? Some sort of deal. Even if it's split zone arc read, that's not my job in the base rule. Now we'll play it where it is, but as a base rule, it's not my job, right? And you can see it over here on the other side one. But if he's opposite side and the tight end's loose to me, right, I know for a fact I'm probably getting a block at. Now I have nailed down all these things, and I know I'm getting a little bit into the weeds of it. But this is how we get our kids to play so fast, is I break this down into their head. We test them on it. We drill them on it. I ask them in the film room. I say, what do you think you're getting here? What do you think you're getting here? Where's your key? What's your assignment? What's your alignment? What do you think you're getting here? What do you think you're getting here? What do you think he's going to do? And until they start answering me fast, I keep asking, and the ones that answer me fast, they want more of that. And then the same as the sniff. The sniff's not all that different. Get into pass rush lanes as we go. I know we're raring down here. For me, we talk about pass rush lanes very simply. There's 5 of them. Typically, when you're only sending 4, one of those avenues is going to be open. So because there's 5 offensive linemen, if you hadn't picked up on it yet. So there's 5 lanes for him to run through. But you typically only get 4 of them. So we tell them, if I am not a C-gap rusher, my aiming point is the front shoulder of the quarterback. If I am an outside rusher or a cop rusher or whatever you decide to call him, my aiming point is the outside elbow. It's the throwing elbow. I want them to stare at the elbow of that ball once they get there. If they start to pass that elbow, this is one of the most important things out of pass rush to me, is when they pass that elbow, they've got to learn to level rush. And that might be its own podcast. They've got
to back correct
to the level of the quarterback. That's a huge deal. It is critical that we get this even rush, right? I tell our kids all the time, sacks are a team stat. They are not a personal stat. They aren't. They're not. If you're getting 5 sacks in a game, that's because we won by 40 anyway. All right. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, it doesn't happen unless the team sucks. So if I'm playing a real deal opponent, pass rush lanes is what gets people sacks, because if I'm the nose tackle and I don't press the center and the guard back and I'm in that A gap and my end I'm talking about, hits the coolest move you've ever seen from TikTok, runs around the edge, quarterback going to take 2 steps and step up, and he's going to throw the ball for a 30-yard completion, And nobody gives a crap that you came up with the coolest move that you spent all the months working on. Nobody cares. They just don't. So, and it's vice versa. If I'm the nose, if I'm the 3-tech, say I'm the 3-tech, and I bull as hard as I can, and I take the guard to the inside chest plate of that front shoulder of that quarterback, and he reverse pivots out because the jack or the end has not got any rush, or he's gone too far up the field, or he went inside, which will make me want to throw.
That's the one right there.
And he reverse pivots out. Nobody cares that you had the coolest bull rush on the block. It's going to be a 7-yard gain. It's going to be 1st and 10, and now you're 300 behind, more tired.
Coach, how many times have you had that conversation when a kid goes, "Can I go inside?" What's your response? I know what mine is. I'm going to share mine after.
Mine is, if you go in, you better win.
Say what?
Mine is, if you go in, you better win.
Yep. You can go inside, but if you don't get the sack, you're sitting next to me for a couple plays.
And that's the good kid, so I want to make sure we preface that. That's
correct.
I have one right now that if he goes inside, I sometimes even tell the guy next to him to knock back the tackle and to wait for him to go out. The Sikkim front that Georgia, kind of brought to the forefront of football coaches is let him go Sikkim. And if he decides to go inside and he tries to pivot out, that's where you're there to make him right. Kind of like a pick and roll in a way.
Yeah, we used to call that like the naturals and stuff like that. When you kind of did it, it's like, hey, you're part of a natural, so you guys got to feel each other.
On the next slide is a visual of it because, again, I'm as visual as they get. I'm a really good visual learner. My 2 inside rushers have got to be front shoulder. My 2 outside rushers have got to be outside shoulder. And if I have 5, if I'm bringing that bear, I'm building that bear, I'm bringing that 5-man rush, I'm playing man or zone or whatever behind it, I want 3 on that inside shoulder, 2 on the outside. And if he's really, really good and we're spying him, then you have to have a guy that reacts off of that. Like, what are we doing if he breaks the pocket, whatever? I go back to the Fleming kid for the last couple of years. His name's Sebastian Boughton. He's a phenomenal kid. I think he's going to Akron to be a receiver, but he might be the fastest, shiftiest quarterback I've ever played. I had like 3 spies on one play against him. I'm not actually lying to you. If we switch, quick stunt, I show you our stunts. If I decide to stunt in, Coach talked about going in. If I decide to stunt in, then now I'm the front shoulder. We've got to identify that. We have to have an even rush. And now I'm the guy wrapping, and I'm the outside rush. I can't rush like I rushed from the inside. I'm going to have nobody outside. He's just going to break the pocket and go off and do his thing. And that's just a big key that we talk about over and over again is have a pass rush plan, have a great get off, and do DYJ. Do your job. What's your lane? Like over and over again. This is my favorite thing is the spill all the time. We started calling them craters. And the way we teach it, I got a couple of things I say is the keys to a great spill. First is the get off. If you knock the dude back and he blocks away and you turn your shoulders like we talked about previously, I'm in a phenomenal spot now to spill. I've cut all the air out. We want the ball to bounce when we say the word spill. We want it to literally, I have done this before, put a table out, made sure there's no electronics, took my water bottle and lightly pushed it over and let it spill. I said, what's it doing? Where's it going? They said, Coach, it's going outside. I'll even sometimes put a book on the right side of the table to make it spill to the left. And they're like, that makes sense, Coach. I'm like, yes, I want the ball to go somewhere outside. All right. It doesn't spill and sit there and go forward. It goes out to wherever water goes to least resistance, all that. I teach world history and all that. I don't know anything about science. But ram the shield. I tell them they have a big shield with an outside arm. You're going to take your shield, and I want you to bruise his inside hip. I want you to bruise his inside thigh. I want the next time he pulls for him to look at his coach and say, you sure? Maybe, maybe not. And the best one, I don't have it on here, is the Georgia kid from the Super Bowl. Can't remember his name, but he absolutely devastated the puller from.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name, but it was all over Twitter. It was all over, all the social.
Carter or Nolan or one of those guys.
It's one of those Georgia guys. There's 18 of them on the Eagles.
Seriously.
Inside, I say I want them to go through. You are not striking his inside hip. I want you to go through him like sugar, honey, iced tea goes through a goose. You have got to dislocate his thigh. That's the words. That's the violence I want them to talk about. Once we make contact with our outside shoulder, I tell them to pry like a can. Like a can opener opens up, it goes up slowly and out. Pry and put the jets on. Accelerate your feet because it's going to naturally get you back square if you do that. I don't even really tell them get back square. I don't even tell them to do any of that stuff. I tell them to accelerate their feet because what happens is if they do it, that inside foot, that inside thigh that we are decimating, that we are breaking on that puller is going to turn open naturally, and it's going to naturally square us back up. Once you've done that, find the ball.
Yeah, and I think the other piece, I'm with you always. I just say get vertical. Again, I didn't teach as in depth as you, but we found that if they happen to be running pin and pull or anything else, or they're bringing multiple pullers, if he spills and then gets vertical, he takes out both pullers. Now we're going to win, right?
Yep.
If you go 2-for-1 on pullers, you're going to win 100% of the time, unless you're terrible. And that's what we did, as soon as because we ran into that problem, right? We'd be really good spillers and they start logging us and stuff. Well, as soon as we started getting vertical, not only did we beat that guy, we would beat a second guy in those things. And now we have the numbers advantage. So that's a really good teaching point right there that if you're listening, make sure you take away from that to get vertical afterwards. You don't want them. Good teams will just log you. And if you don't get vertical, they're just going to – the best spiller in the world, if he doesn't get vertical, is just getting logged. And guess what? They have what they want still. So you got to get vertical because you have a great shot at making a play.
The other thing I would say to that is if you crater them, they won't log you.
That too, yes. Yeah,
I want it to look –
you kick his ass, yes. But you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely. The big boys that do it, like I want to hit him so hard that he turns sideways and he can't wrap around because that's what I was good at playing. I used to log people like crazy. I would actually dip my hips sometimes because I thought they were going to dip their hip because I knew they were taught to go inside. I didn't know it was called spilling at 18, but I knew it was go inside, and I would turn and run them out like that. Knowing that, I was like, well, if you decide to attack that thing, you got to take it on. But just like you said, that's the best. That's the ones I show is when the 5 tech steps inside of the pulling tight end and he spills them so hard that the pulling guard for power gets nowhere. That's the ones, oh my God, man. That's the ones that get you fired up. That's the ones that just you start acting like Ultimate Warrior, you're grabbing ropes, you're screaming, everybody's having a great time. And the linebacker's destroying the running back. And the linebacker behind him is overlapping and finishing. He punches the ball out. Then you got your safety who's running. He picks the ball up. You score the touchdown. And then I go back and I don't talk to any of those guys. I go find the 5 tech and I say, that's the greatest spill. You just scored 6 points. And that's how I sell the spill. I don't tell them, oh, you got to sell it. You got to sacrifice for the team. He's aware. He's not dumb. This is a tough thing to do. He's putting his body on the line against a 310-pound man. But when he does it right and he tackles him and the second guy comes out, punches the ball out, and the third guy picks it up and he scores on a house call, I don't even look at them. I go look at the 5 tech. I go find him. I find him out of the crowd, and I act like he just won the lottery. That's what I do every time.
You're right. He made the play, right? If he doesn't do it, none of the other crap happens.
Absolutely. It hits vertical, and I'm pulling my hair out, which is my biggest fear. There's a couple drills of us working it, or just different things I've seen. You're going to see some in-game footage of us doing it. This one I think is really good because of the pry. See, like pries it open. You can see a physical can being open visually. And then because he pries, like we talked about, it naturally gets him back vertical. Accelerate. If he accelerates, he's going to be just fine. Right. And that's what we talk about. And that's how tight I want them. He gets as tight as possible. He can even scream. For us, he would scream down a little bit more, but he's playing it square, a little bit more square than we do. Here's some clips over the years of doing it. Right now, we're watching this guy. This is a 170-pound defensive end. Welcome to what I had at this level at this time. He's wide as heck, driving me crazy. I'm screaming at him from the box. But what he does, 77 goes. This isn't even a great spill, but he gets low, he dips his hip, he pries it open, and he gets vertical. Guess who never gets blocked? Number 3, if he knew how to play football. But number 18, right here, number 3 decides to shove his head in there for no good reason, right? No, 18's unblocked. Nobody's getting there for him. And if 3 decides to do his job, it might be a knock the ball out and go. Right. And the defensive end, we talk about having this guy tight and this guy having the back to him. He knows he's probably going to get a hinge block, a down step block, with that guy pulling. And look how fast the defensive end can get there. That's the things we want. That's stealing gaps. This number 9, the left 4 eye, ended up in the right B gap. Like that's stealing gap. People want to say stealing. How you steal gaps? That's it. Technique steals gaps to me. Here's us. It's going to start in the middle. I don't know why it does that. We're looking at this top defensive end. It's going through 75 with a great spill on the counter. Let's see when it starts. There it goes. Boom, vertical. That's a big old boy. He's taking on. But look what happens. We get another spill. Look who's unblocked. One of the best players, in the nation at the time gets to go one-on-one against their guy, and he tackles it for a 1-yard loss. And again, it's all because 21. He could even spill it better. I really truthfully believe that. But what he did do is knock it back, and then the linebacker did the same thing and spilled it. He trips over his own feet, and we end up with a guy, despite all that, with nobody to block him. And we get guys crossing over because we're playing some travel up here. So we get number 3 crossing over and stealing a gap.
Look, I heard he only made that tackle because of his freshman defensive coordinator. Exactly. That's the word.
That's the only reason. Development, maybe. Here's another one. This defensive end right here played defensive end for 4 weeks, the whole playoff run. He had never played defensive end in his life. And he's going to step down. This is why he got the job, because he did this well. Spills it, makes it bounce. Linebacker spills it. So not only, this is what the one I show them, because I'm going to pause it right here. 45 is going to spill this ball. Guess who makes the tackle? 45.
Comes right back out and does it. Yeah. Great job pursuit afterwards.
That's what we talk about. This is why I tell them it's not just you sacrificing. You can go make a play right after. Because I get a guy wide open, he gets a one-on-one shot, and because he had certain people as his DC as a freshman, he misses the tackle, and he's going to make the tackle after.
That's accurate.
So, and it's just this over and over again. Here's one of the better ones you'll ever see. The left defensive end steps down. It's going to be a starting tackle is here. Boom, craters it. Gets the second guy like we talked about. They're actually pulling 3 people playing quarterback. Actually, this is the one where they hand it off. But they're pulling multiple people. None of them get there because he does a great job spilling. We end up with a 5-man tackle. I tell my guys all the time, make my job hard on Saturday. I don't know who made that tackle. Make me have to write everybody's name so I can be like those other guys that say guys have 300 tackles in a season.
Don't get me going on that count.
That's what I want to be. This is the same.
I get on my high horse so bad about that. Sorry.
This is what we talk about with it. And if nobody blocks you, as a base rule, go make the tackle. They're 2 back. We're expecting split zone. They had run a lot, but they went ISO. This is actually a little bit in. So I started slanting I started running, calling the front to the back and slanting away from the back to mess with the plug read right there. So 76 gets in the way of the ISO. 8 still decides not to go in the right gap, but life happens. And because of how we're playing it, right, I have 22 there. 22 is the quarterback player on the backside. 7's wrong. He should be screaming down the line. 22 is the quarterback player. He can't pull it. That's why he has to hand it off, right? And he hands it off right to the guy screaming down, making the play. We did this a lot against this team. This is actually the reason we beat them. They might have been better than us physically, but we beat them because we gave them such issues here. Screaming down the line and making it. And there's the last part of it. This is just so everybody knows I do teach them to squeeze and pop, and they can't scream down the line. We teach squeeze and pop, and I'll go fast with it. You stay square. Your near foot, your front foot, I want it to be, see if I can pause it. I want your near foot to be up more than your back foot. Okay, and the reason for this is near foot up is what I tell them. I want them to be near foot up because it is much easier to drop your hip and run outside when he decides to run around you than if your outside foot is up. And now I've got to drop that hip and I've got to drop that elbow and open up my hips and damn near do a DB turn to make that play. That's the only thing I tell them. Right. And squeeze the life out of it. You get those good ones, man, and they can play the backside of that tackle in the back. And oh man, it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah. The great ones can do the surf. And then when it's handed off, turn down the line and make the tackle. I've only ever coached one of those guys.
I've coached a few of them. I'm blessed to say that. That's the end of my presentation as far as run tackling, that type of deal, hand the ball off type stuff. Dealing.
Hit that stop sharing for me real quick.
I don't know what I'm doing, man. Boom.
All right, Coach. You've listened to podcasts. Maybe you'll be ready for this, but phenomenal presentation. I loved every minute of that. I'm glad that I have it recorded so I can watch it 12 more times when I go back to coaching. Just incredible detail there, which is what I love. I've told you 100 times, all I ever wanted to hear about is D-line stuff. And when you go on the clinic circuit, you never get that. I'm sure somebody out there is going to be like, no, I went to this clinic. Well, like I live in Florida, so we just don't get it enough.
They spend 45 minutes doing pretty basic stuff. I agree.
Correct. So
you got to get them alone, and
I love the details, and let's talk even more later. But we ask every coach this, and it's one of my favorite questions that we ask, and we're going to do a huge cut up of it at the end of the year. But what's the most unique thing or special thing that your program does that not a lot of other people out there do?
The way we practice. The way we practice is very different than what people notice. If you've ever come to our practices and you've ever gone to I hate to say the word typical high school practice, but a typical high school practice, they are vastly different. The reason they are vastly different is we do everything off a segment timer. We are fast as it goes. We push the crap out of getting people that can video and do certain things to help us to where we can video our indies. I bought these Ray-Ban glasses that have the videos in them. Some of those are shot with that. So I can video my own indie and I can send them cut-ups of it.
That's amazing.
But I want to go fast. I want to stress our kids and I want to get all of our stuff in. And what I like about it is we do spend time in the film room and we film and we teach it like a college. We prepare them. You don't have kids leave Mandarin and go to the next rank and their coaches come back and say they're not prepared. And every time we come and have a coach from the college coaches as they come through and about to start coming through in the next couple of weeks, they're always shocked at how we practice. It's all we talk about. And we stole that straight from Georgia, that emphasis on it. Kirby, if you have a conversation with Kirby and you want to get him fired up, you talk about practice. You don't talk about games.
Correct.
God, he doesn't care about games. They handle themselves. He's super emotional during them anyway. During practices, he is so locked in and they have such a system. Everyone knows where they're going after. There's none of this head turn left, right. That's a big thing we pride. We're going from here. We're going to blitz walk. We leave blitz walk. You know where we're going. We give the first couple days, we give our coaches packets on where to go, where they're supposed to be during certain drills. We timer, we stay on the clock. If we finish before the clock, we have a young kid that's going to be a phenomenal coach. His name's Christian Parker. He's our O-line coach. I swear he's 20 years old. He's been coaching with us since he was 15, as it feels like. And I'm going to work for him one day, so I always shout him out. I'm basically going to ride his coattails. And he's phenomenal. But he runs the clock, and if we finish early, we go to the next thing. And we spend a little bit extra time in the film room. What we get out of it is that we're not on the field for 2 hours most of the time. We're off the field most of the time, fast. And it allows our people to go home, our dads, a part of the family, they get to be with their families. And, once they're down or whatever, we spend a couple minutes and we say, okay, this is the film. Now I can send it straight to the guy. We coach everything off of film and it prepares our kids for college. That's one thing we want to, because I have had experience playing and being at certain places that college coaches will not come back to your program because the kids you have sent them were not prepared. They dealt with so much crap to get them. They had too much to develop. I know that sounds weird to say, but like speaking to the guys we just sent to Florida, both of them, the quarterback coach at Florida is like, oh my, this kid is light years ahead of most guys. The safety is making a ton of plays because he's not having to learn how to practice. We've taught them how to practice. We do form rec at such a speed. We force them to communicate. We force them to work in these loud, harsh conditions. And we're never standing. I never want guys to be standing on the side. Even if it's a sort of scrimmage deal, I force the other guys in there to coach. And the hardest part about that is getting kids out of their feelings to understand that somebody that's their age is coaching them and not calling them out, and they can still be cool and yelled at. And that goes into another thing we do as the season goes. This is how I think we've stolen development over some other programs around us, is that we do a younger scrimmage every day where once we get into pads and stuff, the younger kids, whether they're 2s or 3s, whatever they may be, they go out there and they get 14 plays, and the older guys act like it's the Super Bowl every day. And if they're not a part of it, we have kicked kids out of practice because they decided they were not feeling it that day for those kids. Those kids don't get as many reps. They don't get all the scout reps. They're like all that once the season goes, that's their time. And I get on coaches if they don't coach hard. Like
I love that.
And what has happened is every year I have 2 or 3 kids that were getting 0 reps when we played the first game or the second game, and not because of injury, but because of ability, they're now playing and rotating, and they're making the guy in front of them better because he's getting 10 less reps. And now he's 10 reps fresher in the fourth quarter. And I think that's how we made our first long run, and I hope that's how we'll make a couple of our next runs.
I love it, Coach. I think the second one, I get the first one. That second piece there, I think is very unique, and I really, really love that and kind of the intensity that goes along with that. So awesome, Coach. Well, hey, this has been great. If you're listening still, we appreciate you guys hanging in there. Hour and a half of great D-line stuff.
Told you I was going to go long.
Oh, probably could have gone 4 hours, Coach. Trust me, if you and I get talking, it can go all night.
Pass rush could be another hour and a half, if I'm being honest with you.
Maybe we'll get you back after spring practice. We'll do a summer session. Maybe we'll get in together. I'll just bring the camera equipment in and we'll get on the whiteboard or something.
Go.
So
we'll
get it done. We'll get it done. So, Coach, for Coach Cason, for me, we appreciate you guys listening, and we will see you next week.